What are you still mad about? When I was at university, my sister's school had a fundraising thing where they accepted donations for them to sell off in a car boot sale. My mum gave away my entire book collection without letting me know. This included a book that my granddad gave to me when I turned 15 where he wishes me the best. A couple from teachers after I left their class and a few that I exchanged with friends when I graduated secondary school. We gave each other a copy of some of our favorite books. I know I'm a nerd. I only found out months later with no way to track them down. That I made it to the final 2 for a very good marketing job in the hiring process with WWE 6 years ago. Only 4 at the final hour when they made their decision. A former employee got wind of the job and just texted the hiring manager. And both of us were out. I was at a skating competition about 4 hours away. I came home and found out my aunt had given my cats away to the SPCA and left before I came home, so I couldn't confront her about it. Duck you, Aunt K. When I was 21, away at college, someone broke into my mom's house when she was away. It was over Christmas. And robbed her blind. The good thing, for her, was her homeowner's insurance covered and replaced everything. So her extremely out-of-date TV and stereo, etc., were all replaced with brand spanking new ones. What sucked, for me, is that no one noticed that my room had been rifled through and my entire comic book collection, which I'd been collecting since I was 5 years old, was gone. Also, all my old tabletop RPG books. Here's one that got stolen. I bought it new at my local game store when I was 13, and boxed sets had been cherry picked off my bookcase in such a way that no one but me realized there were gaps. Some of those books were gifts, with inscriptions and everything. Because no one noticed, my stuff was gone for over a year. I was outside of the window where my mom's homeowner's insurance would have paid to replace my things. I'm 46 years old. I wish upon those thieves a lifetime of paper cuts. I graduated in 2008. In the middle of that recession. There were no jobs available because I was magically overqualified with my college degree and underqualified with no experience. I got one interview and I was perfect for the job. But the employer said that I lived too far away. The commute would have been an hour and 10 minutes. But I was willing to move because I had just finished school and there was nothing keeping me in my college town. The interviewer just kept shaking his head saying that's too far of a drive. Dude, ducking, listen to me. It would have been an awesome job. My dad always harassed me for not liking watermelon. He called me picky. I was one of the most open-minded kid eaters ever. I ate everything put in front of me. My dad would not eat squash. The hypocrisy. Only being invited to my in-laws' house because they need something technology related fixed under the guise of food. 2 things. In 1998, when I was 13 years old, the Smashing Pumpkins played a free concert in Minneapolis. I had never been to a concert before, but I convinced my mom to let me go. I had plans with my best friend and was super excited. That was until one of the neighbors needed a last-minute babysitter overnight to watch her infant and toddler. Mom decided I was doing that instead. She paid me $100 for the work, and I remember that being the first reassigned $100 bill I had ever seen. But I missed the concert. 100k people showed up. Yeah. It probably would have been a nightmare situation with that many people and me being so young. But I didn't get to be a part of it, and people are still talking about it. At my old job we had 2 community fridges for everyone to bring their lunches. And freezers for us to store some bulk stuff. I had a box of corn dogs in the freezer. One day, I went to the break room to make a corn dog for lunch. I put my hand in the box and was infuriated to find out that not only had all of my corn dogs been eaten by someone that was not me. Rather than throwing the box away, they filled the box with ice cubes to weigh it down and put it back in the freezer. We all labeled our food with our names and dates. So whoever took my lunch knew it was my lunch. I know people's lunch gets stolen at work all the time. It's the audacity of weighing the box down and putting it back that really makes me mad. This was 7 or 8 years ago and I'm still mad about it. Never did find out who did it either. Bank of America doing their best to duck up my home loan 10 years ago. Even though it eventually was sorted out. My blood pressure rises every time I think about it. When I was 9 years old, my friend and I had the original red and yellow Pokemon games. We spent months getting every Pokemon we can and evolving them to complete the Pokédex. We saved up our money and bought a link cable just so we can trade. Another month or so my friend's parents buy him blue version. We were ecstatic. We rushed through the game just to collect the exclusives to that game and trade it with one another. We each were at 149 Pokemon. One day my younger cousin, 5 years old, came over and wanted to play my Game Boy. I was afraid of letting him play on my saved file that I started a new game for him and handed him the Game Boy to play. Later on that day I took my Game Boy and went over to my friend's house. I started up the game and saw Player Ash, Badger 0, Pokédex 1, Time 013. My heart sank when I saw that. I knew exactly what happened. That little bit saved over my file. I was bawling when it happened and my 8-year-old friend was consoling me saying it's going to be okay and we're going to do it all over again. We never did. When I confronted my cousin he said he didn't know what he was doing and pushed every button in the start menu. Still mad about it today. I will never get magma. I will never get 150 ever again. I went to a very Catholic school and a teacher I had when I was 7 years old told everybody who would listen that she could see the devil in me. It took me the better part of 2 decades to realize I wasn't a piece of shit because of her. I still kinda feel guilty about, like, existing. That my parents sold my longboard that I bought and kept the money to themselves. When I was in 2nd grade I asked my teacher permission to go to the bathroom. She said yes. When I came back I got in trouble for leaving the classroom without permission. I was talking to my neighbor after school one day and had asked me how my stepmom's pregnancy was doing. I didn't know what he was talking about. So he showed me a picture of a positive pregnancy test my stepmom had sent him 2 days prior. I had told my parents I was upset that they did not tell me. They denied it. When I confronted my dad in the parking lot about him lying to me, he told me he does not lie to me. He denied that my stepmom was pregnant in the first place. The child is my father's. About 2 months later, my stepmom walks up to me and says, "Since you already know I'm pregnant. It's a girl by the way." Edit. My neighbor is not the father of the child. He has his wonderful partner. I have gay neighbors. My best friend in 7th grade texted me while pretending to be her mom. She texted me saying that she had healed herself. And when I saw my friend in person the next week, she laughed when I told her that I had thrown up because I cried so hard. Now I have major trust issues and I still have a grudge on her. I had a friend as close as a brother steal $500 cash from my wallet and proceed to abuse the duck out of my kindness. Good news is I got the money all back after he realized I was onto his theft and not falling for his lies. Bad news is he sliced my couch up, pretended to find $200 of the $500 trying to masquerade his theft. He even said I should give him a cut of that even though I was still out $300. My couch is still ruined, too. And I sleep on that thing. No longer associated with him. But I really wanna curb stomp his itch as. Edit. He's not a drug addict. My mum let my sister play Nintendogs on my DS. She wanted to buy a new dog. The problem was to do that she had to delete another dog and she deleted Bello, my best dog that I had trained for over a year. My sister was 4 at the time but I am still mad about it. 9 years ago my now wife came to my place for the 2nd time and dipped her spoon into my tiramisu after refusing her portion. When I was in elementary we had a thing called school habits. The teachers will make sure that we went with the correct school uniform. White socks all the way up. Hair tied up. My mom always sent me to school with everything correct. But my dumber switch teacher never put me a 10 so it was 6 or 7 which was really low. My mom went to talk about it and my teacher said, yeah. But after recess she has her socks down. Her hair all messy etc. Like. Itch. I was in elementary. I will run all over the place you asshole. Later we found out it was BC my mom was single mom. This teacher was super religious and didn't approve my mom having a child without getting married. That teacher is an asshole. My mom surrendered my dog while I was at school cause she, the dog, kept eating my shoes. This was 15 years ago. I have a great relationship with my mom now. But I'm still mad about that one. When I was 15 and brink of suicide. Cutting my arms every day depressed. I went for an annual checkup and I'll never forget the asshole of a doctor I had. I was hinting to him in the only way I knew how. I'm tired all the time. I can't concentrate. I have bad dreams, and he says, it's because you're lazy. Do you exercise? I tried again. I just can't get myself to do anything after school. And he would interrupt me to reiterate. When you're lazy, you get fat. When you're fat, you'll be tired. I was maybe 10 pounds overweight at the time. Probably because I was ducking depressed. Then he asked me what I wanted to do in college and I said I was kinda interested in nursing. He started tearing into me about what a dumb ducking idea that was. Do you always want to be wiping other people's it? Just try a little harder and get into med school. You idiot. It seriously traumatized me. And obviously I still think of it. 15 years later. I don't understand how people like that are allowed to be doctors. I was still badly depressed after that visit, but I think it put a little fire in me to not heal myself, so I don't give that jackass the satisfaction of knowing he contributed in any way. The fact that my ducking shitty as elementary school did nothing to stop bullies. They would preach about not letting bullies continue their actions, then turned a blind eye when kids would throw rocks at me. My holographic Charizard. I was so excited when I got it and couldn't wait to show it off at school the next day. Then, about halfway through the day, it goes missing. I looked everywhere and I could not find it and was super bummed out. The very next day this kid Marcello shows up with his own Charizard, and even though I couldn't prove it was mine, I knew it was. The timing was just too convenient that I lost mine and then he gets one. A few years ago my husband and I were planning our wedding. Only his family wanted it rushed because I was pregnant. They're super religious. Mine didn't care, and they all got together and decided on a few dates. Those dates my mom was busy, business trips mostly. But it was all stuff she couldn't back out of. I told them this. Asked to push off the wedding. Asked several times as nicely as I could manage. Several of my husband's family members basically said she was a sheep mom for choosing these already planned and paid for things over her own daughter's wedding. So I threatened to go on one of her business trips with her, a business trip to Hawaii. That lasted a week before and a week after the wedding date window, if they wouldn't reschedule. My mom even offered to pay for me to join her. Love her so much for this. And they finally caved and realized I was serious. Yeah, I'm still mad at those family members for calling her a sheep mother. 2 years ago when my mom died we had a low-key memorial barbecue. My mom wouldn't have wanted anything fancy. She legitimately told me to burn her and save the life insurance money before she passed. Anyway, her older sister, who lived less than an hour away, couldn't be bothered to attend. Keep in mind that my impoverished mother had been both loaning them money and lending them her car. Not to mention my family had provided them the land to place their home on. She had no job. There was literally no reason for her not to be there. 2 years previous I had taken 2 days off of work and drove 3 hours to be with them when her husband died. Dead to me. I was given a STD by a long-term partner. It's currently incurable. I despise them but rely on them for living expenses and no one else would want me with an STD. Edit. Thanks for the support. When I was 7, I spent the night at my cousin's house. Before dinner, my uncle led the prayer. When he finished, my cousin blurts out he had his eyes open while you prayed. So my uncle railed on me about how it's disrespectful to have your eyes open while you pray. I said, how did he know my eyes were open if his eyes were closed? My uncle told me I couldn't have dessert. I never had my eyes open during the prayer. Itch. That I can't see my forehead. Really long story. TLDR at the bottom. I had been trying to schedule a meeting with the higher up at our client for weeks. I finally got in touch with his admin, who said she needed him to confirm that the meeting was needed before she could schedule it. Fair enough. She forwarded me to his voicemail. Weeks later, and countless calls and emails to him and the admin. And I finally got through to her on a day when he was in the office. He and I discussed. And he agreed that we should meet. He forwarded my call back to his admin. She and I found a date and time that would work. And we agreed that she would send the invite to everyone. Because we were meeting in a room at the client office, I sent her the email with a list of attendees while still on the phone with her, and explained that I couldn't access the calendars of 2 of the attendees. They may or may not come based on their availability, but should be included anyway. I hang up and head into another meeting, then came out to a ton of emails. 2 voicemails. And some texts. The emails were: the invite. A cancellation 10 minutes later. An email from the client with all attendees. My boss. And my boss's boss, the company owner, copied, explaining that his admin works hard and doesn't deserve to be treated like this. If we still want the meeting, we can schedule it on our own. A million back and forths between my boss, boss's boss, and the 2 others on the invite, trying to figure out how I offended this guy so much. The voicemails were from my boss and my boss's boss, panicking, trying to figure out what was going on. The text was from my boss, who knew I was in the other meeting, trying to get my attention to leave and call her. Being a good employee, my phone was on silent. I said duck that and called the client's personal cell phone. We have access to a database with everybody's office and personal numbers. But there's an understanding that we are only to communicate using office numbers, and preferable directly with the admin, except in extreme circumstances. Me potentially losing my job seemed extreme enough to me, he answered. And I immediately dove into, hi, this is me, from company. I'm not sure how I offended your admin, but we had a great conversation earlier before I jumped into a meeting. Then I came out to what seems like a really tense situation. I just wanted to call to see what was going on and how we could fix it. Well, my admin tells me that she sent the invite and immediately got 2 people declining from your company. So she cancelled the meeting. If you want the meeting, you can still have that time on my calendar, but you need to schedule it. Okay. We discussed that. I just wanted to lock down the time on your schedule but couldn't access everyone's calendar. I guess it's just a misunderstanding. Can you pass me back to her, so I can ask her to reserve the room? Then I'll send the invite. Haha. Yup. Just a misunderstanding. He then apologized to me and said that she's been a little stressed because she's headed out on vacation next week. We joked about how stressful that can be, trying to pull everything together in those last few days while I was trying to keep my anger and confusion down. I'll ask her to reserve the room. Please also include her when you send the invite. Thanks for calling to clear everything up. Okay. Thanks. We'll see you. Date and time of meeting. The itch cancelled the whole ducking meeting that I spent over a month trying to schedule. Because 2 people that I told her were up in the air didn't accept the invite. Turns out, they both replied tentative. It took me hours to try explaining this to my boss and boss's boss to their satisfaction that the client wasn't angered out of his mind. And in fact, he laughed about the misunderstanding on the phone. I then had to stand up at the next staff meeting to discuss the situation and how I could have handled it better. TLDR. I spent over a month scheduling a meeting with the client. His admin immediately cancelled the meeting after 2 people replied tentative, even though I warned her they might not attend. Drama ensues as the client involves my boss and boss's boss on an email saying that I can't treat the admin like that.